What's up, everyone? It's Chicks in the Office with Rhea and Fran giving you that Friday energy on a Wednesday. This is the post-Bachelorette finale episode and also our last episode of 2021. Trent is here with us. We're going to get started. But first and foremost, this podcast is presented by Dat Chat. We were on Dat Chat all night during the Bachelorette finale. Everyone always has a lot to say on there. It's always so great. We were getting our thoughts off on there. You can join the Cutting Stems group because we will be back for the premiere of The Bachelor. You can join the Chicks in the Office group, talk about the podcast, talk about pop culture topics, whatever's going on, Pete and Kim, whatever it may be. You could also do private messaging on there. You can decide how long you want a message to be out there. No screenshotting, no screen recording. We love Dat Chat. I think it's a lot of fun. Genuinely go on Dat Chat on my spare time, check out what's going on in the groups, talk to you guys. I think it's a great way to talk to the people who listen to the show and get feedback about what we're doing. So make sure you download Dat Chat. Go to datchat.com/barstool right now. You can get more info, download it, and you can talk to us on there. We have a lot of fun. Also, before we get into the Bachelorette recap, I want to talk about something with Noah because this has been cracking me up all fucking day. And if we don't talk about it on this podcast, I'm going to be so upset. So, Trent, I want to fill you in because I don't think you know this yet.
I don't.
You know Kylie Jenner's best friend, Stassi Baby?
I've heard of her, yeah.
Okay, so today, Stassi Baby, who everybody knows I love the name Stassi Baby, Stassi Baby's ass. Stassi Baby, who has always been Stassi Baby on Instagram, she is known as Stassi Baby, changed her name on Instagram to Stas Koronikolovkova. Her last name is very hard to pronounce. I may have been as
very
close
long. Her last name is like 20 letters.
It is very long, very hard to pronounce. She is now official. New era, she wrote. Very upsetting for all us Stassi Baby fans out there. We're talking in the chat, and I'm like, Noah, you should take Stassi Baby's handle because it's such a famous handle.
Well, actually, I just said it as a joke myself.
Yes.
When you were like, oh my God, this is such big news. I'm like, oh, watch, I'll take her name like as a joke.
Yeah, I forgot you said yes.
I suggested it.
You didn't even try and change you didn't change your username. You just changed your bio name.
Yeah.
No, but isn't that what hers was?
No.
I'm pretty sure her at wasn't Stassi Baby, I don't think.
Yeah, her at was.
Yes,
Stassi.
it was.
Of course it was.
Well, whatever.
So
that's why we freaked out. She changed her actual username, not just her bio name.
Either way, all right, if you want to keep the story, but either way, I'm stuck. Like
either way, Noah changed his name to Stassi Baby on Instagram.
His username,
and
not his like bio.
I wanted to take a screenshot and send it as like a quick little joke for the group. That was all I was trying to do.
And
now you misspelled it first.
Yeah, I misspelled. I forgot the E. It was just Stassi I Baby, and then I saw it and I was like, shit. And I went back to change it. Took a screenshot. Then immediately went like, all right, now I'll change it back to my name. And it just was like, you've changed it twice in 14 days already, so you can't change it for 14 more days now. so now it just says Stassi Baby.
It says Noah Ives. Stassi Baby.
Which honestly is even funnier because it makes it look like Noah either thinks he's dating Stassi Baby or he's like a Stassi Baby fan account.
All right.
So it says Noah Ives and then immediately underneath it just says Stassi Baby.
So funny. It's been cracking me up all day.
So that is really funny, but are you maybe going to get followers from this? Like, are people going to search Stassi Baby on Instagram and they'll find you and they'll be like, all right, I'll follow this guy. Why not?
It still says Noah Ives.
I could go all in.
Noah Ives and then Stassi Baby underneath.
What if I just change the at too?
Yeah,
dude, you might
change my picture too.
Fan account. Yes, just start post. Tonight. Can you just post a single photo of Stassi Baby? just no caption or anything. Just post a picture of Stassi Baby.
Dude, like if you can't change that name for 2 weeks, you might as well go all in. Change the actual name to Stassi Baby. Get a few followers, and then in 2 weeks become Noah Ives again.
Delete any like trace of myself, and then in 2 weeks. Just all the Stassi Baby followers find out who's been running the account.
At like his Noah's my first search because I was just looking at it before, so I went to go search him again, and this is just
Stassi Baby.
The worst thing is
Noah Ives underneath Stassi Baby.
My favorite screenshot that Fran sent before was Noah Ives Stassi Baby, followed by Glenny Balls plus 30 more. It was just so fitting that Glenny Balls was the first name.
Glenny Balls will follow any Stassi Baby account.
Instagram. Like Noah's entire Instagram of his 5 posts and his bio, and under his picture it just says Stassi Baby.
If you like DM me, I saw this.
Days.
Because on the DMs it only shows your name, I guess. So if you're DMing me, it actually just says Stassi Baby, which is kind of funny.
Watch out, dude. Glenny might be in those DMs ASAP. Yeah. Glenny Balls will be in there.
Stassi Baby. It's just cracking me up.
That's very funny.
You go to message him, it says Stassi Baby with Noah Ives underneath it.
Hey, you were trying to get a laugh, and you got a lot of laughs.
There could be worse names and worse people to have blocked on my account. So.
That's
so as good as it gets.
That is
pretty good name, like honestly.
Oh God, that's the good stuff, man.
That'll be like that for the next 2 weeks.
Bachelorette finale, folks. 3 hours. The end of Michelle's season. Caitlin Bristowe was the host. I also just want to say, if you're watching this on YouTube, please don't judge me for. I feel very insecure about the back of my living room. It's not fully decorated. I know I've lived here for 6 months, but I just have this like nothing's even. Like I have these 2 frames. They're my starter frames for the gallery wall that I'm planning to do above the couch. I've just been very slow on doing it. So I just have this one other one lingering that's like not even and doesn't match. And nobody would probably care or notice besides me. But it's just bothering me.
I usually take the heat on that because I have nothing behind me. I've lived here for 6 months as well. Haven't hung a thing up on my walls.
Yeah, so I just got I'm like halfway done.
Like to me, yours right now looks fully decorated. That's a fully decorated living room to me. And if you hadn't said anything, I would have been like, oh, that looks nice. I do have my
corner lamp like you, Trent.
Yep, there you go. You're right there too.
Trent, why don't you though? Like just out of laziness, or like you can't feel like comforted by a blank wall?
Island.
It's not out of laziness. It's that I can't commit to anything to put on my walls because it's the same reason why I don't have a tattoo because I don't know what I would get. That's a full
I feel like tattoos way more of a commitment than like
you could take down anything from your wall. When Robbie was
poster.
When
hold on store.barstoolsports.com.
When Robbie was living with you, your walls were decked out.
Yeah, because Robbie knows what he likes.
He likes a lot.
He loves.
So passionate about things.
I don't like. What do I like?
What's your favorite movie?
Trent.
I don't know.
You like John Mayer. You like 50 Cent.
That's
you like
true.
Iowa.
Get rich or die trying. Up on there.
But like I can't be having that on my walls. Like I'm an old man now. I can't be having crazy stuff on my walls.
Yeah. So is 50 Cent.
Get some.
I don't know.
What's your favorite show?
Oh boy, I don't know.
Get a Big Bang.
God, I would hate to be on a date with you. Is this how you act?
No. But
I don't know.
How funny would it be if we just recorded all these with Trent and he just sat in front of his Big Bang Theory poster?
Right. Oh yeah, and then that would go over really well on the internet. I'm just saying that like it doesn't bother me as much as it seems to bother a lot of other people that I don't have stuff on my walls. But also I can't commit to anything. I go on eBay a lot and I'm just looking at random stuff and I never end up buying anything. And then I go to bed and I wake up.
What eBay?
Yeah.
Trent's looking to
maybe you are that old.
He's looking to throw bids around.
No, I'm gonna buy it now, guy. I'm gonna buy it now, guy.
For a casket tomorrow. This guy's gonna grow soon.
eBay.
No, I'll be. I think eBay is a good for stuff. Let's get into the recap. Let's do that.
I got something to tell you. There's this guy, Jeff Bezos, and he created this thing called Amazon.
I'm out of here. All right, I'm gonna try to figure something out. I don't know.
Trent was like, guys, for months now, I'm being outbid on all the posters that I like on eBay, and I just can't get any of the ones
I'm waiting for. Literally any poster ever is on Amazon. All
right. We're going to get into the Bachelorette finale. Let's start it off. Let's kick it off here. Okay, we have Caitlin Bristowe hosting the show solo, which was unexpected. We thought it would be her and Caitlin. I mean, her and Tayshia. Talking about Caitlin. We thought it would be her and Tayshia. But out of an abundance of caution, because Tayshia's been in New York, and New York is, just COVID capital of the world, it seems these days, that she stayed in New York and did not travel. From her social, it looks like she was like, I was maybe exposed. I don't know. She didn't really go into major details, but just to be careful, she did not fly to LA for the show. So Caitlin hosted the whole show herself, which is a major undertaking, major responsibility. I don't know how long she had to prepare to do this solo. I thought she did a great job. It's funny that, she gets the critique of she talks about herself too much, but it's like she was on the show and that's why she's funny. Like, she's able to relate her own life into the show, and that's why she's personable and relatable, and that's why you laugh at the things she's saying. I'll never understand that.
I also didn't even realize that she was doing
I know.
that.
She didn't really. She didn't really at all.
I didn't think she really did at all. I think she was, I don't even remember one time. Maybe she did, but the fact I can't remember it, I think is like, I don't think it was overbearing at all. And I think you're right. Yeah. I think she's been on the show. She knows from experience. And I thought she did a really great job. I think that, Trent, you mentioned this on Cutting Stems a bunch, that the crowd just didn't help. Like, I thought Caitlin was great. I thought she had good jokes, good timing. I think she really crushed it, thinking that she was probably going to be with Tayshia. So she thought she would have another person to bounce off of, but she didn't have that. It was just herself. I thought she did a really good job. But I thought the crowd was like a little lackluster.
Yeah, and I like her hosting style. Like, same. So I feel like people are used to Chris Harrison. He hosted the show for 2 decades, and he's very hosty. He's like, he presents the topics, he brings them up, and he'll cut people off, he'll throw to commercial, and it'll be all very professional. Caitlin it's a little looser and it's more self-deprecating. And I like that. Like, at the beginning, she's saying, oh, it's a live show. What could go wrong? And then she says, everything could go wrong. And that's not something that Chris Harrison would say. That's not something that most hosts would say, but I like that style because it's more relaxed. You can laugh about it. It's not as, this is not a serious show, but like, there is tension with these old couples meeting each other and whatever. I like her style of like keeping it loose, keeping it light. And I really like that. I think she did a great job.
I completely agree. Let's start it off with Nate and Brandon meeting Michelle's family. But first,
2021 is coming to an end. We're about to enter 2022. You may have not been so clean this 2021. Maybe your balls are a little hairy in 2021. We don't want that to be the case. Trent, nope. Got hairy balls?
Not me. Not this guy.
No, because you're all cleaned up, and I would know from Manscaped. I'm kidding. Sorry. I really didn't mean to say that, but it just felt like it just fit right in right there. I apologize. That was inappropriate. Anyways, right now you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code CHICKS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code CHICKS. Upgrade your 2022 self-care routine with Manscaped. You get the Lawnmower 4.0, the perfect package, the Crop Reviver, everything that comes on Manscaped. You can go to manscaped.com and you'll be smelling nice and looking nice down there, ladies and gentlemen. Manscaped.com, code CHICKS for 20% off.
Right off the bat, we knew this was going to go well for Brandon because this was not his first time meeting Michelle's parents. This was the second time, and they got along so well the first time. I mean, Michelle's dad is so adorable, and he expresses himself so beautifully and like talking about Michelle and everything that's great about Michelle. But it was so cute because he definitely seems like a serious guy, and she's talked about that, she talked about that with Joe and, thought they were similar and serious guys. He was smiling ear to ear, talking about Brandon coming to visit. He was like, I can't wait to see Brandon. Like, he was so excited. Everybody was excited to see Brandon, and he pretty much knocks it out of the park. Not surprising, but Michelle's parents absolutely adored Brandon, and it felt like Nate was already working at a disadvantage because of how much they love Brandon.
Yeah, going into this episode, I knew that this part was going to go really well for Brandon, and if I were picking someone, I think Rhea and I last week on the recap picked who we thought was going to win. I think Rhea picked Nate, I picked Brandon. And I went into this episode with my guard up because as much as I thought, or as much as I kind of wanted Brandon to win, I knew who's behind the 8 ball. Nate feels like the favorite for whatever reason, despite how much Brandon likes Michelle. It seems like Michelle likes Brandon. But I knew the meeting of Michelle's parents was going to go super well for Brandon. And I felt after that meeting between them for the second time, I actually thought that he might win the entire thing. I thought Michelle might pick him. Didn't go that way. Nate meeting Michelle's parents did not go well. I don't know. But it was that thing again with the show, and I tweeted about it when it was happening, where they set you up in that way where it's like everything, and I mean everything is going so well for Brandon that it almost seems like it's going to switch on you at some point, which it did, and Nate ended up winning. But after Michelle and Brandon's parents were all getting along as they did the first time, I was like, oh, Brandon's got this in the bag.
You know what Brandon has been very good at too? Gifts. We'll talk about, as this goes on, but he comes in, he's got the jokes, he's got this swimming, the swimsuit return, and I'll get you another one. Like, they already have inside jokes. That's where you're in trouble. The whole family, they already got inside jokes. They love everything about him. And this is the thing too. It's like, for us viewing, it's like, okay, maybe this is a little much from Brandon as far as like how in love he is already. But that's music to Michelle's parents' ears, right? They're like, in their minds, they're probably like, oh God, I don't know how Michelle's going to find a guy through this process that's like really going to love her and support her. And it was very nice because, Michelle's dad asked the same question really to both of them. Like, she's very ambitious and she needs someone who's going to support her in her dreams and prop her up and not tear her down and like make sure that her dreams come true. And Brandon, gave the exact answer he was looking for. And Nate's was a little bit different. So that's probably why they continue to go towards Brandon. But unfortunately, Nate, like I said, Nate was already playing at a disadvantage here. I don't think no matter what he did, I think Brandon was still going to be the favorite regardless. But Nate was incredibly nervous, it felt like, during this entire time with Michelle's family.
Well, he's not very good at it. He's talked about this all season, that he's not good at expressing his feelings. And this is the time that you have to do it. You're meeting Michelle's parents. And if you want that to get the stamp of approval from them, you're going to have to give them real, legitimate, concrete answers as to why they think that you should marry their daughter. And and it's a personality type thing. And for whatever reason, Brandon is just like, he's so warm and open and just like, this is how I feel about your daughter. I'm all in. I can't wait to join this family. It's going to be great. And Nate, although I do think he feels similar feelings towards Michelle, he's just not as good at expressing them. And Michelle's mom picked up on that right away. And they had a conversation that just honestly couldn't have gone much worse for Nate. And she was asking the right questions, saying the right things, and Nate just couldn't say what he wanted to say, and it came off as rocky, and it didn't go nearly as well as it had gone for Brandon.
Nate was so nervous that he accidentally said that he doesn't take love seriously at all.
Yeah.
That was like the worst part about it. It was like, you could tell he was trying so hard. And I will say this, I think watching the episode, you have your initial reactions and everyone's so quick to judge. And then afterwards you think about it, which is what's happening to me right now, where it's like, it's now 1:00 in the morning and we've just talked about the show on Cutting Stems. And oh my God, it was 3 hours. And you realize you're like, meeting someone's parents for the first time is so frightening. Yeah. And it's really not going to go over so perfectly smooth like Brandon's is majority of the time. Like, yeah, it'll be decent, it'll be fine, it'll be good. But Brandon's was like so over the top amazing that it's making Nate's seem kind of weird when like he fumbled the bag during it. Don't get me wrong, but like it was kind of normal for him and relatable for him to be a little bit nervous.
It absolutely was. And Nate,
And like during the show, we're like, red flag, he's fucking
Right.
up.
Well, that's the thing we talk about all the time is this show distorts everything to the point where like if
wanted us to think that. They wanted us to like
Absolutely.
that was the point
While
of
you're watching it,
beginning, the whole first hour. Yeah, the whole first hour, they wanted us to think that Nate was just fumbling this so badly and he wasn't going to be able to get it. And Michelle said this during the live show, which was so good too, because Brandon was so good at articulating his feelings on television, like more than we've seen for a lot of guys who've been on this show. And he's also made it clear, he's like, oh, this is all very new to me. It's like, well, you're very good at it. You're very good at talking about how you feel and talking about that. And Michelle was like, look, this is a guy that is expressing himself really for the first time in his life, like sharing these emotions out loud. And he's doing it in front of cameras on television. Like, of course he's going to be nervous. We have to remember that, like, this is something he's never done before and he's on TV.
I want to say a theory that I now have that just hit me. I feel like the Bachelor franchise puts visuals and sounds in there that are known to hypnotize people. And so we get captivated during the show. You're nodding your head so hard, Fran, which is really selling me on this, my own theory, that I think that it's so hard. You just get so captivated if you're paying attention with everything, the cocktail of visuals and sound they make. And then it wears off after a couple hours and the next day. And you start thinking about the reality of it. And you're like, all right, I judged these people a little hard. I was a little too fucking drawn into this. It's all happening right now. I'm telling you, my brain is unraveling at this very moment.
It's like the way they cut everything. It's the way they cut it. It's the way they put the sounds in there. You know, Brandon's getting happy sounds and they're in love, and Nate's getting dark sounds, ominous sounds. Like, is this going to work? Like, it's like, and it's the way they, like Brandon and Nate going on their last date. It's the way they show Brandon coming in and the music they play in the background for that. And then the way Nate comes in, he's more stoic. They make it seem like he's more nervous. They play the ominous music where they got the voiceovers of someone from who knows when, could have been at any point, being like, it's coming down to the end and I'm nervous. I don't know if this is going to work. Like, and then you're like, oh fuck, is this going to work? I don't know.
Oh, this show absolutely manipulates its audience on a level that we do not understand or comprehend whatsoever. We're just along for the ride. Like, we're just sitting there like, oh, they're probably giving everybody a fair shake on this show. No. Everything, the music, like Fran is saying, the way it's cut, the birds chirping when Brandon's there, the birds not chirping when Nate is there. It's a whole production for sure. But with that being said, I think there's got to
Nate still fuck up that hometown the date. Yes.
Yeah. That's what I mean. You can't make something as much as we say that they can make something out of nothing. Sometimes you can't. There has to be a little bit of truth in there where Michelle's parents love Brandon. They really do. They have a great time with him. And Nate just really kind of fucked up that meeting with the parents. That has to be true on some level.
You just go back and forth. A lot of hypnotization.
A lot of what? Hypnotization.
It's like when my parents, when I was in 4th grade, they went and got hypnotized to stop smoking.
Yeah.
People do that.
I feel like I've heard the story 10 different times.
And then my mom started smoking again and my dad caught her. It was terrible. I remember it's because it was such a traumatizing day in my house. That's why it gets brought up all the time. The way my dad acted when he found out my mom started smoking cigarettes again, and then in our face, he was so pissed that he started smoking all the cigarettes. It's so fucked up.
Dramatic day in the Chifo house.
I think they used to do this.
Smoke, then give me one of those.
I think they used to do not similar to that, all that similar, but I think they used to do it in movie theaters where they would quick flash like a bucket of popcorn and you wouldn't even be able to pick up on it because they do it so fast. It's like subconscious marketing where you just go bang, and the people who are sitting there didn't even see it, but all of a sudden somebody turns to their friend and says, I think I want some popcorn, and they go out and they buy it. It's similar to that with what Bachelor does to its viewers. And by the way, I'm all in. Like I want to be manipulated as to what's going on during the show. I think that's totally fine.
Absolutely. So Brandon and Nate have their last dates after we know that, Brandon's on cloud 9. He crushed that the parents, the whole thing. Nate's a little bit more nervous. Michelle very clearly is like, I need more from Nate. I need him on this last date to give me more. Her date with Brandon was lovely. They had a nice afternoon. She knows how much Brandon loves her. Like, she can feel it. She's talking about it all the time. Like, I know that this is like he's going to love me and support me. And almost like without saying he's the safe choice, he's the safe choice. And at it's true. Nate,
here we go.
Brandon, I mean it in a nice way. Brandon would literally kiss the ground that she walks on, which is honestly the one that she should pick, but she didn't do it. But it's like he had the sweatshirt from the overnight date. They had a food fight, and he was wearing the sweatshirt, and he gave it to her, and just all these like the declarations of love constantly, which I'm telling you may just become too much at some point. There is a thing called love bombing, and not that like Brandon was necessarily like doing it in a manipulative way, because he wasn't. It's truly his feelings, but like it was just a lot. It was
you guys turned on him. And it was evident.
Did not turn on him. It was just
it felt like the first half of the episode, from my gauge on Twitter, everybody's like, oh, Brandon's so great. He is easily the front runner. He should win. He's so sweet and so nice. Nate is not ready for an engagement. We don't know if we can trust whether or not he's gonna, be there for the long haul. And then as Brandon started to, be even more into Michelle and saying, I love you. And he's writing this beautiful letter with this kind of a strange voiceover that they had Brandon record. It seemed like some people, maybe some people on this podcast started to be like, this is too much. I can't take this. This is bad. And then as soon as Nate,
it was bad. It was not bad at all, because I know that Brandon really loves Michelle, and you could feel that. It was just, this is when I start to get too realistic with the show, which is when you get yourself in trouble, because it's like this guy, I started to not buy like how deeply in love he was when he's known her 6 weeks. Like, it's still a TV show. Like, I'm much more on the, like, Nate's, as much as we're like, oh, Nate might not be ready for a proposal or everything, like the full relationship. That's more real life plausible, that Nate's a little nervous going into an engagement after 6 weeks instead of Brandon being ready to like do everything.
Totally. It just felt like once Nate gave like the speech of, I only brought 2 suits and I'm, this whole process is scaring me. Then it felt like everybody was like, oh, this guy is who Michelle should maybe pick, as opposed to the other guy who is maybe just like obsessed with her. That was because until Michelle didn't have another option, people were still like, oh, I like Brandon. Brandon seems nice. Brandon would be a great guy for Michelle to end up with. And then as soon as Nate sort of showed like a little bit of emotion, everyone was like, oh, she should pick Nate.
Yeah. Nate's date also was funny too, because of course they like went to some shaman that was like, I'm going to make you ready for marriage. And like acting like that's going to be the cure. It's like, okay, Nate's not ready for marriage. Let's sage him and make him recite some, let's make him recite some lines. And then like
let's meditate on this.
Yeah. And it's so funny because they take it so seriously too. Like Michelle's like, I really didn't think Nate opened up during the exercise as much as he should have. It was like, all right, are we acting like this was really gonna give Nate the push he needed to be like, you know what? After that experience with that shaman, I am ready to propose.
At one point, he said something that he was hoping was like being open and honest with Michelle, and he looked at her and he said, "Is that good? Am I saying the thing that you want me to be saying?" And it's like, all right, this isn't working.
Yeah, and when they finally were able to sit down, Trent, you had liked this line too, and she was like, "I basically need you to tell me how you're feeling. What's going on here?" And it was the first time that he did open up. It was like, I packed 2 suits because I didn't think that I was going to be making it this far. And here I am. And I'm scared because I love you. And I can't imagine like not having you in my life. And that's, that really scares me. And we're at the end here. This is big, but like, I love you. So at the end of the day, it is clearly exactly what Michelle wanted to hear.
My perception of that moment was that Michelle, this whole time, as sweet and as nice and as loving as Brandon is and has been all season, she just needed one thing, one potential thing with Nate, and she was like, "I'm going that way," and she got it, and she picked Nate. I think that was it.
Yeah. Do we think potentially that, to play devil's advocate here, that I only packed 2 suits could have been another red flag? Because it's like, oh, you thought you were like gonna be on the show for a really short amount of time.
Let's not dive too much into this.
It was a nice speech.
I'm just saying, like, if I was her and he's like, I only packed 2 suits because I did. It's like, oh, so you thought you were gonna be here for like 3 weeks? Like,
yeah, I would be like, oh, so you just were coming on the show to maybe get a little Instagram clout or what?
Yeah, but here he is. He made it to the end. He felt like he told Michelle what he wanted to say. And you're right, Trent. She just needed that one push. I think that's all it took to put Nate over Brandon in that moment, as soon as they had that moment. And of course, like the timing of it was ruthless because they did have that moment. And then it was like, bye, Nate. Oh, look, there's a note at the door and let me read it. And it's Brandon, which not only like sometimes they make the Bachelor or the Bachelorette read that out loud so we can hear it, but they had Brandon do a voiceover of his notes, which is so funny because it's like, did they put him in a booth? Did they like in his confessional where they're like, okay,
it sounded pretty good quality.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
really good.
It sounded really good. So they had to sit him down and be like, okay, enunciate very clearly, read this note that you're writing Michelle, And once again, a whole lot of like, since the day you walked into my life, it's been changed forever and my life will never be the same. I love you. And like, it was a big note.
I said on Twitter that it sounded like an R&B song when he was so smooth and the quality was top tier. Again, I thought the note was beautiful. I thought it was Brandon just expressing his love to a woman that he wants to spend the rest of his life with. Some people thought it was too much or that, he was love bombing Michelle. I don't see it that way, but I thought the note was a nice gesture.
I think you have to remember that she's not hearing him read it. Like she's just reading the note.
That is very true.
That's a really fair point. That's really fair point.
I feel like we did forget that. Once again,
I love a good handwritten note though.
A good handwritten note is nice. Wish I can get one of those. Just kidding. I'm so kidding. One of my favorite things to do is to make you guys feel uncomfortable. And I've done that quite a few times tonight. So we're just going to keep moving on. Anyways, I go back and forth because at first I was like, that is really just a lot that Brandon is doing right now. Like the chat last week that he had to have with Michelle before the roses, he had to like pull her to the side.
Yeah. Now
she's going on her date with Nate and he's got to put a letter out there. And it's like, okay, it's a lot. It's really a lot. Like, calm down. She's going to make a decision. She likes you. She's going to pick you. But at the same time, someone is like, wow, I really want to be with this person. I'm going to give my best efforts to show them how much I love them. And like, I guess you can't really blame somebody for that. And I think that my concern was him coming across possessive and just like a little too much. But then I think what I realized towards the end of the show and then during the after the final rose was that he's not, because he handled the breakup beautifully and talked about them in such a respectful way and was such a stand-up guy, besides maybe the throwing of the ring. I don't know. I feel like that's okay. He had a little pent-up anger. But I have no idea what I was about to say next because our Zoom cut out and we had to start a whole new meeting. Yep. And I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys because it's been like 15 minutes, maybe less than that, since we ended. And I have no idea what I was saying.
We're really at a point tonight where, you know, I'm the one controlling the Zoom. I don't have Zoom Pro. We're on a time limit. Noah's Wi-Fi isn't working. I don't know. We're really struggling. This is our second Zoom of the evening, and we're gonna move on now to.
I got the wrap up music.
Rhea got the wrap up. She got cut off. She was mid sentence, and it just ended. And literally Noah looked at the screen and went like this. It's just as soon as he did that, it ended. Okay,
I feel like I was in a good thought too.
You were articulating yourself very well on thoughts about Nate. It was great, and everyone's gonna hear that, and it's not gonna make sense. It's like gonna make sense to them, but not us. So we're gonna move on to proposals, but first. Over the holidays, we want you guys to be safe. So if you're hanging out with some friends, maybe you're drinking a little bit, a few drinks becomes a little bit more. And as the evening comes to an end, people start to head out and you think of calling for a ride, but you're like, I don't live far. I can make it home. It's no big deal. It is a big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? You know, you go through all these minds. You're like, you're thinking, it'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up. There are so many risks. You cannot take them. Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out right now protecting our roads from impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. So drive sober or get pulled over. This is very serious, guys. There's so many ways to get safe rides out there. You should just never get behind the wheel if you've been drinking. So for more information about the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign, visit www.nhtsa.gov/drive sober. That's nhtsa.gov/drive sober. Neil Lane, the man, the myth, the legend, shows up. He's in Mexico in person. He's got his rings. Nate and Brandon both pick out their rings. Nate went with the pear shape. Not my choice, but to each their own.
Yeah, I don't know what any of that stuff means. I don't know the shapes. Our cutting stems or our Bachelor group chat, as soon as Neil Lane makes an appearance, Kelly and Fran just start going back and forth about like shapes and what band do you want, and it's just a lot.
It is funny because I feel like every year it's the same conversation, and it's like, isn't it just a one-time conversation?
Well, because it's just the same rings. Like Neil Lane, like every season, it's also the same rings. Like I just think Neil Lane's designs look the same every year.
This year, I finally researched what an emerald cut was because
that's big.
They were going back and forth. They were like, "We like emerald," and I, in my head, and back, like, I'm embarrassed of this. First of all, I feel like I should definitely know better. I was like, "What's an emerald cut?" I know what ring I would want today. I decided. Literally just today, I decided which ring I would want.
Today.
Do you ever do that when someone says a word you don't know what it means and you just kind of like go along with it, but then on the side, I'm like Googling on my phone, like while I'm with them
all the time, constantly.
Okay,
that's
good.
Like,
I don't know if it was just me.
That's like 45% of my life, I would say.
Yeah,
it's just trying to figure out what the hell people are talking about.
I will, and then they're like, "Do you know this?" And I like Google search it really quickly, and I'm like, "Yeah." Yeah,
you don't know that. Nate and Neil Lane had a very fun interaction. Nate walked up to Neil Lane and he said, "Whoa, you're tall." And Nate said, "I'm up there. I'm up there. And it was just one of the funniest responses to someone saying someone's tall, just being like, yeah, man, I'm up here.
Yeah,
I'm just really tall. Very, very funny. It was good to see Neil Lane. On the past couple seasons, has he been not on location? Am I remembering that correctly?
He definitely has not been in person.
Yeah. So it was good to see him down in Mexico, slanging rings.
Yeah, it definitely was. Just, Neil Lane, they'll never switch up because he is the ring guy for this show, but it's just the same types of rings, every year is the same types, but it's just his style. Anyway,
I wonder if he
I
has
want
a
an
son.
oval with a gold band.
Okay.
yes, that's very trendy right now, Rhea. I think that looks beautiful, and that's a classic ring. Neil Lane doesn't, and at least the Neil Lane rings on this show don't look like that.
I think they're very old school, these rings.
They are, yeah.
You and Kelly talk so seriously about it in our chats that I want to give your potential significant others a heads up because I don't want them to get in.
Trying it.
They know?
If you don't think, they already know.
Okay, good.
Wait,
imagine Trent's hey, listen to week 7 recap at 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
I feel I honestly feel like it's my civic duty to do that because I don't want.
It's very subtle, Trent. It's not like you shove rings in the guy's face, but if your friends start getting engaged and you're looking at the pictures and you're like, ooh, I don't really like her style. But then someone does get engaged, you're like, ooh, I really like her style. You can drop it in there in a way that it gets picked up on.
Hopefully these guys are paying attention because that some guys might just be like, yeah, and they're watching the game. It's like I get worried for these fellas.
Yeah.
There was a point where Noah and I ended up having a conversation. I don't know if it was in front of Fran or behind Fran's back, where we were like, wow, Fran's gonna get married.
Oh yeah, this is this was probably on our way to LA or something, or we were in the car or something.
Yes, and we just were like,
oh no, we were yeah.
Oh, we were sitting at the bar.
Eating. Yeah, and we were saying
eating.
Yeah.
And we were me and Noah had this moment where we were getting.
It was more
emotional.
you, and I was just in agreement. I wouldn't say I had a moment.
No, Noah.
I wasn't like Rhea. Guess what, Fran?
It's way funnier to think it was Noah.
Noah was definitely, he was in the conversation. Clearly, he was like, that's crazy. We were just Fran's gonna get married and get married before us. And we're gonna have to be a podcast when she's engaged and getting married. She's gonna grow up first. We were she's gonna be the first one.
I'm assuming,
unless I randomly get married one day out of nowhere before you.
Maybe.
I don't think that's gonna
that would
happen.
be fun. But no, yeah, my age will start to show at some point. Got all these.
That's basically what we were saying.
Kids running around.
I'm kidding, but it was a moment that I forgot to clue you in on.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about the proposals on the show, huh? Brandon's the first one out of the car.
Brutal.
So we know that this is it's not happening for him. Caitlin and Tayshia did not show him any reason to believe this would go well. They kind of seemed very doom and gloom.
Yeah, you gotta have a poker face in that moment. You just gotta have a look of who knows what's gonna happen.
I think they tried to do the poker face, but the poker face came off being ooh, good luck.
Yeah, you're the first SUV that pulled up. There's no other tire marks on the road. You're the first one to get here.
Exactly. He goes down there. It's hot. The ocean is as loud as can be. He says his speech. And he gets through basically the whole thing, and then where you're in that in between of okay, I finished talking, do I get down on one knee? Michelle said her piece and went through the breakup, and you could tell on Michelle's face the entire time. Brandon said this after the final rose of Michelle wears her you can read her eyes, you can see how she's feeling through her eyes, and he said he knew right away looking at her eyes, and you could just tell from as soon as Brandon got down there. And so this breakup happens. And to be honest, we could not hear shit. The waves were so loud. I saw so many people on Twitter being I had to rewind it and turn on the captions because I couldn't hear what they were saying. It was an emotional breakup. I could tell that from their faces.
Yep.
The emotions drowning in the waves.
Yes.
I was very surprised that they didn't subtitle it themselves. Like that would have been the move, because like we obviously knew, because Brandon was the first one to show up, that it was not going to go well for him. And I was prepared to get just punched in the stomach, because I think everybody likes Brandon. He's a very sweet guy, and you don't want to watch a guy like that get his heart ripped out on national TV. But I will say the waves kind of took some of that pain away, because I didn't really hear what was going on. Like Fran said, you could tell it was going poorly, because their faces were, doom and gloom. But the waves really they were a buffer to hearing the actual breakup in loud volume.
Absolutely. There wasn't really an end. It was like Michelle started to kind of walk him out, and there's the hug and like the I love you, and she said I love you too, and it was very, very sad. He was crying. It was one of the sadder proposal breakups we've seen in a long time. He was like, your happiness is more important than mine. It was just, oh God, it was
walking up the steps. He's crying up the steps. He's really steep.
He didn't want to like turn and look back at her and start crying again.
At one point, Michelle was like, what am I doing? It's like, that had to kill Brandon watching it back to see her say that. Because you just like hold on to that little thing, like, she second guessed it.
Brutal. Yeah, and he was sweating so much. I felt so bad after he got up there. And it appeared he threw the ring. I don't know if it was something else. We couldn't actually see, but it was like, I would imagine the only thing he had on him was the ring. I don't know where it went, if a producer was in the sand looking for a ring for hours afterwards, but it did appear he threw that ring.
I totally missed that part. I didn't see the ring toss.
It looked like he chucked something, like he was like, and like threw something.
You know what? They'll fine.
Yeah.
Like,
totally fine. No skin off his back. It's not like
that's Neil's problem now.
Yeah. Say I wouldn't throw something in that moment.
Exactly. In my hand. Way worse.
Yeah.
So really wasn't that bad in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, that was a very emotional breakup. It took a lot out of us to watch. It was very sad to see Brandon that way. So it is harder for sure when the breakups are that sad to then immediately go into like, oh, happy proposal. Look, they're so in love. And that's what you kind of have to do, because, Nate comes down, he says his speech, loves Michelle, and she looked very nervous, nervous. And I think she was nervous, like, about what Nate was going to say. And once Nate got to that point of like, okay, like, I'm going to propose, she was so happy and totally went in like, you're my guy, my soulmate. This is how it's going to work. And he got down on one knee and proposed. And it was a beautiful proposal. Definitely, I would say, shorter than some of the Bachelorette proposals we have gotten as far as like face-to-face speeches, but still beautiful nonetheless. They get me every time. Every time it's just like, oh, they're in love. But there is such an element to Nate talking where like he's like, I love this woman. We're getting married. And it's like, do you?
Yeah, he's like, I'm John Burgundy.
Yeah.
Like, I know he means it, and I know he loves her, but for some reason, like, it's still like, you just proposed.
He was like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm engaged. Like, he was genuinely shocked that he was engaged.
Yeah.
I will say those moments are tough. They do that like right after they get engaged. They all have that moment where they're just standing in front of the camera and they're supposed to yell or they're supposed to say something crazy. Michelle said "Soul Nate," which was a funny pun, but like he was awkward and he didn't seem quite as sure as you would hope he would be in that moment. But I don't think anybody can handle that moment very well.
Yeah, definitely.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah!
Yeah,
shoot,
get married, baby. Let's go.
Gosh darn it, we did it. I'll be damned.
Her.
Nobody will be able to top Serena and Joe's when Serena was like, I'm engaged to grocery store Joe.
Right, because I actually will. That's a good
great
point, actually. I think that moment, that exact moment for all of those people, that's when they really realize that it's happening.
That's the holy fuck, I'm engaged moment.
Because up until that moment,
On
you're just on a TV show. You're thinking like, I'm just trying to accomplish this one goal. And I want to get engaged to this person at the end. And that is the only thought that you have the entire time. And then you do it. You accomplish what you were trying to accomplish. And now you're faced with the reality of I'm engaged. And I have to at least pretend like I'm excited. I'm sure they're excited, but it is hitting them like a ton of bricks, the reality of everything that they are now going to have to face.
I've just been screaming in my house. My dad just texted me, some of us are sleeping. It's 1:30 in the morning and I'm in my family home.
Yeah, just send it back. Some of us are working.
I wrote, this is exactly what I wrote. I'm working here, putting food on the table.
I'm actually waiting for my neighbor to like hit the wall.
Hey, Dad, you want a Christmas this year?
You want presents under that tree or what?
I would love if he came down and just shut your laptop.
I'm going to write, you want presents this year?
Holy shit.
It is 1:30 in the morning, just for clarification.
It definitely is.
Yeah. So this is like the proposal ends, Tayshia and Caitlyn come running out. People forget how small Caitlyn is. Like, I don't think that like flies under the radar. She's really a tiny human being. They came running out like without any shoes on or anything. Nate's so damn tall. They look so small, but they're very happy that, and then we cut to after the final rose, which let's get into the whole live show. But first, if you guys aren't watching The Bachelorette on Sling TV, come on, what are you doing? It's time to get rid of cable. We don't need it anymore. Because we have Sling TV, you get all the channels, plus you get all those entertainment channels you love, MTV, Bravo, E. You can watch all the reality shows of your dreams. They also have tons of great sports packages, by the way, if you're into that as well. I know it's kind of hard to find great streaming services for all the sports. This is the best place. You can also stream exclusive Barstool content for free on the Barstool Sports channel on Sling. Sling is easy to set up, easy to use. There's no contracts, starting at just $35 a month. You can sign up now and get your first month for just $10. That's right. Sling is where all the best reality TV, live sports, whatever you need Barstool content, it's all on Sling. You got to check it out. You got to get Sling. Go to sling.com/Barstool to sign up now and get your first month starting at $10. That's sling.com/Barstool to sign up now and get your first month starting at $10. Just got to say before we get into the full live show, they did cut back and forth a bunch of times. Shout out to Big Pauly for his Santa, his movie impressions. He did a great job. If you don't know,
Really
he was
good.
the guy in between that was like dressed up as Santa, doing Elf, doing Home Alone, doing the Christmas Story. He was doing it all. He crushed it. Joe and Serena and Becca and Thomas were there. There wasn't really a big moment for them. It was just kind of like, you're here, make out. Like Joe and Serena made out under mistletoe for a little while on TV. There was a funny moment, which I did not catch when I was watching. I actually only saw it on Twitter, but like in the middle of Brandon's very emotional interview with Caitlyn, where like he's talking about his feelings and how in love he was with Michelle, and over his shoulder was just Becca and Thomas, and they're like making out behind, like kissing and like so in love, just like behind Brandon. As Brandon's like, yeah, you know, like my love for her is gonna have to change, like, and Becca and Thomas are just like kissing behind him.
What a respectful answer from Brandon, though, for him to say.
It was.
Caitlyn asked if he still loved Michelle. And I think that this was one of the best answers somebody has given on this show.
Yep.
Was that he said, he took a moment, he thought about it, and he said, you know, I will always love her, but I don't think I could, it would not be respectful to love her in that way anymore. And oh my God, that is so mature and nice. And just like he said, respectful.
Yeah.
Like for him to not be like, I need her back. Like he was like, I respect her and Nate being together and I want them to genuinely be happy. That is such a mature stand-up guy. I am so sold on Brandon. About an hour ago, I was out and I'm back in thinking about this answer.
Yeah, it was a great answer. It was. And Michelle came out. Brandon and Michelle were wearing like matching outfits. That unintentional, but they were in like the exact same color. And then it was funny because when Nate came out, Caitlin was like, "Oh, you guys are kind of matching." It's like, nice try, Caitlin. It was actually the other guy.
I know.
The other
that
guy
was like, oh,
she's matching with the other guy. And to be honest,
knew the other two matched.
Yeah. To be completely honest, guys, like I was listening to Michelle and Brandon's conversation. I can't tell you a single thing that they said to each other. It was just very civil. And I think it was like, I wish the best for you and your life, and I want you to be happy and find happiness in your relationship. And but I think he probably wanted some clarity on like the double I love yous and all those things. And she basically was like, that's how I was feeling in the moment. Like, I fell in love with both of you, and just one was a little bit, more than the other, however you want to say it. Because you kind of had to talk about that with Nate too, to be like, Nate had to watch me say I love you to other guys. But
yeah, and that's really come a long way on the show where, like, who was it?
Really flies under the radar these days.
Was it Higgins?
Ben Higgins.
Higgins, where he fell in love with JoJo and Lauren, and that was like, whoa. That was huge. And now
happens every season.
Every season, and so much so that I think during Michelle and Brandon's conversation, they both agreed that like it's possible to fall in love with two people at the same time. They were like, it happens. Yeah. And I think that's probably the right way to look at it. But for this show specifically, it really has just completely taken a turn where if you're not in love with the final two or three people, then you're the outlier. It's really changed a lot.
Absolutely.
Is it fair of me to say that? No, I don't know, because I've never been in love with two people at the same time. But could it more be so that you love somebody and are in love with the other person rather than you're in love with both? It seems kind of hard to be in love with both.
I do understand what you're saying. I feel like she kind of told both of them she was in love with them, but yes, I do understand. I do understand what you're saying, because I do, and I also think that when you do have to make the choice between, it's like, no, when you really have to like think about it, it's like, no, I'm in love with Nate.
Yeah.
And
I feel like
I love Brandon as like a person and everything about him, but like I'm more in love with Nate. I definitely understand that. I think that's a big part of making that decision. But they had a nice conversation. Hopefully Brandon got some clarity that he was looking for. They haven't seen each other. It's the first time they're seeing each other. And then Michelle comes out, Nate comes out. They're in love. They're happy. They made it through the in-between time, and he's moving to Minnesota. He's very happy. Their moms are like BFFs. They text, they talk. They're talking about how Minnesota, where Minneapolis and Winnipeg are like not that far from each other, for them to see each other. It was very beautiful. It seems like, their families are already joining together and they're having these moments. And they fucking gave him a down payment on a house.
So crazy. That just out of nowhere. It is
gingerbread house. Maybe because it was like is it because this is like Christmas? I don't know.
Say it's because it's the giving season. I don't know if that was really the reason, but it is big that Nate's moving to Minnesota or Minneapolis. Because that was the big question. Like, he lives in Austin. We weren't so sure that he was gonna move, and that's where
that shocked me.
Yeah, and that's where
immediately,
instantly, and that's where it can really fall apart. Where it's like somebody doesn't want to move, and then you don't see each other as much, and it gets a little rockier because you don't feel like the commitment is there, and it can fall apart. But yeah, Caitlin asked Nate if he would move, and he was like, "Yeah, I want to do it. I'm going to do it." I'm going to do it in the next couple months. And then ABC and The Bachelor were like, here's $200,000 to help you out.
Which I think we are all on the same page in believing that ABC is giving these two a little extra something to stay together, because every single couple that gets engaged on the show now breaks up. Not every single, but majority. And they're like, can one of you just fucking make it? Get a house together right away. We'll give you $200,000. They can get a hefty home with $200,000 down payment. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to put down on a house. So they're going to get something real nice. And ABC is probably going to tie them to a contract for them to have to live in this house for a certain amount of time. Maybe give them a spinoff show in this house that they're providing.
They are setting a very interesting precedent. Like the next time around, we'll see. The next time around, we'll see if somebody else gets something. Like this is the first time they've done this, to my knowledge.
It literally felt like we were watching. I felt like we were watching The Price is Right.
Yeah.
Like it was like, and if you get this correctly, you will get $200,000 on your own home down payment.
Right. Like, is somebody going to get
balloons, confetti?
somebody going to get a car? They're going to get like a minivan so you guys can have kids. And it's like, what? What's happening? I'm into it though. I want these couples to stay together. I'm sick of having to defend this show sometimes when the couples don't stay together.
You're gonna be like, here's a giant check for your first child's college tuition. You only get it if you have a kid.
Imagine they had them like The Price is Right, start guessing the numbers of what the check is to see how much they actually get. It's like, let's do a little game now.
If they want to throw a game show aspect onto the end of this at the end of the season, I'm in.
Yes. That's all they need to add to this show to spice it up a little bit is a little game show aspect to the end.
Well, the
prize money.
Imagine they turn it into Love Island where it's like Nate and Michelle are sitting in that seat and Caitlin goes, Nate, Michelle, I have 2 envelopes in my hand. One has $100,000. One has nothing. You can either pick the money. If you get the envelope with the money, you can share it, or you can keep the whole thing for yourself and send the other person home with nothing. That they did that on Bachelorette. Trent, did you watch Bachelorette?
No, I missed it.
Imagine they were like, Nate.
Bachelorette was so good. I know everyone talks about how they do it on Love Island and, like they do on the challenge and whatnot. But like, they did that on Bachelorette and that shit was so good. So good.
Imagine they were like, Nate, you could take the $200,000 and put it on a down payment for a new home with Michelle, or you could take the money and run. Just sprints off the stage.
Oh my God. It would.
Well, all right. So that's a good question. What are actual predictions? Doesn't feel like the right word, but how do we think these two are actually going to end up? Like, I
feel pretty good that they're moving to Minnesota, that he's moving to Minnesota. I don't know. I am a tad worried because there were a lot of rumors around Nate in Austin and he's out and like there was blinds about him, like flirting with girls in bars and whatnot, or like being asked about Michelle and having like weird answers. To me though, like, yes, that may have happened. I don't know. But also when you're the guy that wins, you have to like play dumb or like act normal. Like you're not supposed to, like, cause that would come out. Like if there were stories of people running into him out and he's like, I love Michelle. Like they'd be like, oh, you won. Like,
right.
So he like kind of has to be like, oh, like, yeah, Michelle, like, I don't know. Like he has to play dumb or else the show's ruined. So
that's true.
But yeah, there were some blinds floating around about him in Austin and whatnot. But look, this is his thing. He's moving to Minneapolis. He wants to settle down. So we can only wish the best at this point. And they're like, I don't know. I think their moms helped convince me.
Yeah, no, there were a couple big things in that after the final rose.
The moms too.
Yeah,
the moms, the move, the down payment doesn't hurt. Like, I do think that if the move happens, and he said it's going to happen the next couple months, if it really happens, I think they got a shot. I can see why not.
It was actually so funny as I just thought.
I'm not going to get too excited or too attached.
No.
You think Joe and Serena were sitting in that crowd when they opened that gingerbread house, and then Joe and Serena were like, what the fuck?
That is such a good question. And I would bet, yeah, because I would be that way too.
We gotta text Joe. That's actually hilarious. I could totally see him being like, well, we're trying to move to New York. Can't we get a little help?
I could even like I wouldn't have been
my monthly rent.
I wouldn't have been surprised if he had stood up during the taping and just been like, "What? Like why?"
Put money on Joe turning to Serena, being like, "What the fuck?"
Absolutely, being like, "Well, damn." He probably like between them and Becca and Thomas probably all looked at each other and were like, Becca's like, I've done this shit twice. I haven't got any cash.
So true.
Oh, man.
So true.
What a wild ending. But the last thing we have to talk about is Clayton coming out and Caitlyn being like, the guy no one knows, the next Bachelor, Clayton. And he comes out, we're talking about a season, and we're like, all right, everyone, people have had some, iffy things to say about you online about being the Bachelor. Let's read them out loud to your face. And not just one, but let's read like 6.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that maybe was why the audience like felt uncomfortable, because like they kept getting worse, but then Caitlyn would be like, okay, one more. Okay, one more. Okay, one more. Like acting like the crowd was supposed to be laughing, like, ha ha, like, yeah, one more. And instead it was like awkward. And then it was like, one more. It's like, no, don't do another one.
Yeah, it was, I understand having to warm him up to some mean tweets, criticism. That's what happens.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. He's going to have to get used to it. The Shrek comments, it was like, all right, whoa. Now we're making fun of the way this man looks.
And it was like, I hope he like wraps it up, like, so he doesn't get anyone pregnant. So it was like, what?
It was like ruthless and
ruthless tweets.
So I see both sides. Like, yeah, you got to get used to that. But also at the same time, we should be teaching people to not read these things, right? It's like, don't read these things.
Or like not send them.
No, because here's the thing. There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than if you see something on your own, fine. But when someone sends you a mean thing that somebody wrote about you, it's like, what are you doing? I don't want to see that. Why are you sending it to me? So that's what felt crazy about this whole thing was I was like, oh, you didn't go out of your way to read this, but I'm going to show you anyway.
Yeah. On national television, this is how
because if you go out of your way, that's your own fault. You went, you looked. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Somebody sending it to you hurts.
I just don't get the motive here. It's very mixed messages from Bachelor World. Like 1 second we're denouncing the mean tweets and we're saying, don't send them. It's mean. It's awful. And then the next we're like reading them and supposed to be laughing, but like, it's not funny. I don't know. And like, we've been critical of Clayton of like, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be a great Bachelor or like why he was picked. I don't really see it. We didn't get to see a lot of him on the show. But we're not fucking tweeting like roses are red, violets are blue, Clayton's a Bachelor. I just puked in my mouth.
Man, the only motivation they could have had.
Baby Shrek children, like.
Oh my God, the Shrek
I
one.
I really wish that I had photoshopped Trent's handle onto the Shrek one and tweeted it out.
You son of a bitch! Yeah, you're out to sabotage me, my friend. I can feel it. No, but
that's why we all like held our breath for a second when they were like, we're gonna read tweets. But they didn't put anyone's handle on it. And those were 10 times meaner than anything we've said.
Oh, way meaner. And so the only motivation for them, for ABC and The Bachelor, is we don't know much about this guy. People do have mixed feelings about him for whatever reason. So when you do something like this, first of all, you feel bad for the guy, honestly. So you're like, oh, come on. Like, all right, maybe I wasn't all in on the Clayton stuff, but these people are being mean for no reason. Like, let's give this guy a shot. And the way that he handled it, I thought was good. He was just laughing about it, kind of rolling with the punches. And he seems like he's got a pretty good personality. So to have those two things happen, I think they probably gained a few more people than they had before who are now like, all right, I'm in on Clayton. He can't be as bad as these people are saying that he is. Seems like a good guy. Seems like he's got a nice personality. I'm in on his season. Those are the only reasons I can see that they would do that.
100%. It's a total, once again, full circle back to them hypnotizing us. It's exactly the way for them to be like, everyone's skeptical about Clayton. Let's go as hard as we can on the mean tweets and then have the world be like, oh, I'm going to watch. He's not that bad. Look, like, and it's exactly what happened. So,
man, they were pretty mean.
They were pretty mean, but that kind of wrapped it up for the show. We hope Michelle and Nate are happy in Minneapolis. They're probably going to get a killer house with that down payment whenever he does move in the near future. that wraps it up for Michelle's season, guys. This is our last podcast episode of 2021. So just want to say thank you all so much for supporting Chicks in the Office this year and listening to us. And we love you all so, so much. We'll be back January 3rd with an episode. And then we're right back in the fucking driver's seat, baby. Clayton season starts Monday nights.
That was really nice. Until we were reminded that The Bachelor starts again.
Yeah, I know.
I'm kidding. It'll be good. And yes, thank you everyone for listening this year. I saw some people in our DAT chat group saying that, of course, they want us to enjoy the holidays, but they get sad when they have no episodes. So just know that we will be thinking about you over this break as much as you miss us. And we'll be back. We'll be back January 3rd.
It'll be in a blink of an eye. Thanks, Trent, for hanging with us always. We really appreciate you recording with us till 1:45.
Yes, we appreciate you giving us your valuable time.
I should be thanking you guys. Thanks for letting me come on here and talk about The Bachelor. I've said this before, where if I didn't have this outlet, I wouldn't be able to talk about The Bachelor anywhere. Nobody else really in my life allows me to talk about The Bachelor at length like this. So I'm grateful to you guys for letting me come on every week to talk about this show, because I love the show and I love coming on this show. So I really appreciate it.
That's so sweet, Trent.
What a beautiful way to end. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back in 2022.